All right, the new Tesla Roadster is here and it looks amazing. Well, wait a minute. This is the Black Tesla channel. Let's make this quick adjustment. Much better. There we go. Much better. The new Roadster is here. Everyone's talking about it. Tons of videos are popping up online. All the things you need to know about the Roadster. Super excited about it. However, I thought I'd make a video to talk about things that we're not talking about. Things that people that are excited about the Roadster are not considering or not even talking about or publicizing and things of that nature. And just to make sure that we have a clear picture of where we are. First and foremost, of course, this event was very much a fundraising event, a fundraising exercise, a capital raise, if you will, for the Roadster and for the Semi, but specifically for the Roadster. You know, we have the Roadster here. It's in prototype form, not in production ready form. Where are the side mirrors? What about the front space? What about the trunk space? Very interested to see those things. But we also should talk about some of the things that we didn't see, which is the 2 additional seats, which may be more for compliance, more than actual practicality of putting people, even small people, in the rear of the car. The interior of the car didn't look so great. It looked completely fabricated and made up, not too dissimilar to some of the early prototypes that we've seen from Tesla. But at the end of the day, it's a brand new car. It is a prototype. They identified it as such, so that's fine. But I'm very interested to see what the prototype looks like. I absolutely love the Michael Knight Rider kit steering wheel. It looked great. However, it's probably not very practical, and therefore it probably won't make it to production. But I'm interested to see what they do with that. The steering wheel was very nice. It didn't seem to have lots of practicality for turning. That's the main reason that Knight Rider wheel was not ever put into production of the actual Trans Ams, was because of the lack of mobility, the lack of the ability to turn the wheel with a steering wheel with just those 2 yokes as opposed to a full circumference of a circle. One thing I did note is that the screen is convexed. It's convexed as opposed to being flat like the Model S and X, or horizontal like the Model 3. It's a convex screen, which I think lends itself to the smaller cabin of the Roadster. But I'm interested to see how that works. It might actually improve the ability to use it on the drive because it conforms more to how your hand and arm will rest on the armrest, as opposed to it being flat and having to reach and press the buttons or press the screen to be able to activate certain functions on the screen. I am not necessarily sold on the lack of an instrument cluster. It may be okay for the Model 3, maybe not so much for the Roadster. Roadster is about performance. I want to see how fast I'm going. I want that to be front and center. There's also no mention of autopilot. There's no autopilot sensors on there. There wasn't an autopilot camera behind the mirror, and there was no visualization of what autopilot would look like if you're driving on the Roadster. I definitely would like to see an instrument cluster to give me my speed front and center so I can see the numbers climbing as I accelerate. I want to be able to see the G's, the G meter that they said in one of the videos was not working. I'd love to see that working. I'd love to get all the metrics there. And now one car comes to mind when I think about these numbers, and that is the Rimac Concept 1. That was up until now, but actually probably maybe still is now because the Roadster isn't in production, is the only true electric supercar, hypercar that's being produced. It's not being produced in a lot of numbers, but that comes to mind. That does have an instrument cluster as well as a center touchscreen as well, with different visualizations and customizations of what you can see and how the car performs. I'm very interested to see how this stacks up. At the very least, using Franz as an example, who's 6'5", it seems that you can get in and out of the Roadster much easier than maybe you can the Rimac Concept 1, which has a very low roof line and is also low to the ground. But at the same time, the Roadster's roof was gone, so we don't know what that looks like when the roof is on. We don't know if Franz has a hard time getting in and out of the car with the roof on, but something to consider and something to think about. We also didn't talk about, they also didn't talk about storage. We didn't see the trunk. We didn't see the front. We don't know how much space is in there. Very interested to see how much space is in there, how much cargo room there actually is to be able to put things in. Side view mirrors are also missing. That's not uncommon from a prototype vehicle. The Model X had camera side view mirrors that didn't make it into production. So it's not uncommon. I'm not too worried about that, but it is something to note visually on the outside of the car. The other thing we need to talk about or that no one else is talking about, that we should probably be talking about, is just understanding how they're going to achieve some of the claims that they made. Obviously, I think they can achieve the 0 to 60 time, no problem. No problem whatsoever. However, 200 kilowatt hour battery pack, where are those coming from? Are those in production now? Are they doing some research for those? I think this was, again, very much a capital raise, get some money down, get some people interested to put the monies down to develop the technology to bring it to market. I'd love to see a 200 kilowatt hour battery pack, but we see that it takes the entire width or length, if you will, of the Model S and Model X to just fit a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack. So to double that capacity, where are the extra batteries going? And obviously the Roadster was a smaller package, a smaller frame, and smaller length than probably the X or S. So I'm very interested to see where are those batteries going. Are there some new technology or new battery density technology that allows them to be able to fit more power, more density, and effectively more range in a smaller battery pack? Are they going to be layered? Is it going to take up more of the trunk space? Is it going to take up more of the front space? Very interested to see where this is going, but I'm excited. I'm very excited. The other thing that surprised me about the event, and again that no one's really talking about, is Tesla's ability for the Roadster to be able to do those quick launches, those hard launches over and over again, which is a known issue with EVs, specifically with Teslas, in that they are typically software limited to protect the battery from overheating. So if you ever have a Tesla on the racetrack, it's going to go hard for the first couple of turns or the first couple of minutes, and then after that, it's going to die out. The software is going to limit your acceleration, your power, because the battery is being driven too hard and getting too hot as a result of that. So they were mentioning in the test drive videos that this car was doing these acceleration runs from 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds over and over again all night without having to be recharged or without having to stop and cool. So I'm very, very interested to see what technology they have to be able to employ that. That could also trickle down to the Model S and X to help improve their longevity as far as performance is concerned on a track or long stretches of road where they need to do constant acceleration, deceleration, based on whatever the circumstance calls for. So I'm very interested to see what that looks like. But as of now, no discussion about that. No other information about how they were able to achieve that other than simply disabling the software, which would prevent that from happening. But then again, what batteries are you using? If you're using, an 100 kilowatt hour battery pack in this prototype model, does that 100 kilowatt hour battery pack not need to cool? Do you have a new cooling system? Is there a new thermal management system in the actual car? Very interested to know about that and see how they're going to manage that, because that's obviously the key point that limits Tesla in the overall conversation about performance. Not just handling, not just 0 to 60 speed, not just top speed. It's also being able to perform around a track and seeing how well that works. I think that's the next level for EVs in general. Rimac Concept 1 was the one that was capable of doing that based on the software and the thermal management system that they have. But I'm interested to see what Tesla does with the Roadster in that regard. But I want answers. I want to know about these things. So I think we should all consider this when we're thinking about the Roadster, getting exciting for it. Yes, I put a deposit down. Whether I'll go through with it or not, it's up for debate. But at the same time, it's a very, very interesting proposition to be able to give 600 plus miles of range, a top speed of 250 miles an hour, and a 0 to 60 of 1.9 seconds. Very, very hard to say no to. But at the same time, look at what's being required. We also should take note that anyone who's actually watched the event, the actual event, or who was there live, knows that the people who are actually test driving the Roadster, or test riding, I should say, the Roadster, are all people who had to put down reservations, which brings me to my last point, which is cost. In order to put down a reservation, you have to put down $5,000 via credit card. And then within 10 days, this is what they're showing you on the website and people are not talking about, you have to put a balance of that. Now, if you're getting the standard base model or something of the sorts, you're going to put down $5,000 now. And within 10 days, you're going to wire transfer $45,000, making your total deposit $50,000 and the balance due upon delivery. That's not speaking to any type of leasing deal. That looks like it's only particular to either financing or purchasing outright. If you're getting a Founder Series version, you're going to put down the $5,000, but then in in 10 days, you have to wire transfer $245,000. That's the full amount of the Founder Series needs to be put up front without having seen the production version of the car, without getting a clear understanding of if it's going to be on time or not. So very interesting scenario. But again, this is not too foreign for those who are familiar with Tesla. Same thing happened with the Roadster. Same thing happened with the first Model X. The Founder Series are always the first ones. Those are the ones that they spec out very highly to increase the cost and thus allow for a higher commitment up front that they can use to build those models out. So I'm very interested to see what happens. But, these are the things I think we should all consider when we're talking about the Roadster, making sure that we get some answers from Tesla, hopefully soon or in the coming years or the coming months, as to how they're going to achieve that. And I definitely did like the look of the Roadster. Franz and team did a great job with the design of it. I think it looks great. I think it fits the DNA very well. And I'm glad they moved away from the newer fascia of the Model S and X with that sort of gap T in the front. I like the look of the Model 3 where the hood and the front fascia are all pretty seamless together. So I definitely like that look of the Roadster. But again, very nice car, very quick. Spec sheets are out of this world. Very, very good job by Tesla getting people excited about this. It came out wonderfully. I'm very interested to see what the production version looks like. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you thought about the Roadster, what you would like to see in the Roadster, so on and so forth.